Hi, welcome to the Marketing Essentials Team podcast. Today we will be talking about marketing tips for the DIYer.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome to the Marketing Essentials podcast. Today we're going to be talking about marketing tips for the DIYer and specifically asking the question, should you build your own website? I'm Justin Kerr. I'm the graphic designer for the team. I'm joined by
Alicia Piazza. I am the social media marketer on the team.
And my name is Bill Parmentier. I am the photographer for the team.
And together we are the
Marketing Essentials
Team.
I almost said Marketing Essentials podcast. I did this close.
The podcast is what we do.
I know. I'm just a little punchy after lunch, you know?
Yeah,
So.
it's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. So, should you build your own website? As a small business owner, should you build your own website?
And an answer?
No.
No.
Just don't do it.
Um,
Thanks for joining us.
Thank
guys.
you.
That's the
We'll
answer.
be here next week.
It's a wrap. I think there's a lot of different ways to answer this question. Obviously, given the tools that are available now, absolutely you can build your own website. The question I think we're trying to answer today is, should you build your own website?
Exactly.
Not can you, because obviously you can if you want to. 10 years ago, you didn't have a choice. There were no tools for building your own website unless you knew code and you had enough savvy to know about hosting and all the things that are involved in getting a website up and live. But nowadays, tools like Wix and Squarespace make it very easy. You can put your website together and have it up in less than a day. But if we ask the question, should you work on your own car? You might have a similar conversation. It's like, okay, you have the ability, there are tools available and there are places where you can go and buy parts, but should you work on your own car?
Well, I think there's pros and cons to it,
I just don't do anything on my own.
Alicia's just like, no,
Can I
don't
pay
do it.
someone for
End of
that?
story.
Okay, hire them.
I mean, there's definitely a lot to be said about doing that, but
Do you have a
obviously,
valet that puts out your outfit for every day?
Wish. Yeah, I wish.
it'd be nice, but now obviously we're joking to an extent, but the reality is there's going to be somebody out there who's listening to this and says, hey, I can't afford to go and hire somebody to put together a website for me.
Right.
I want something as a stopgap for the time being until I can pull enough revenue in to be able to go in and hire a designer and a social media manager and a photographer that can do all that stuff. So our idea behind doing this is give you some tips to go on just until you can get to that point. This is not meant to be a long-term solution.
It's temporary.
A temporary solution, yes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when I'm talking to clients, usually if they're a startup, they're just putting their business together. Certainly, building your own website, as you said, just to have a presence, to have something there, is something that I often recommend to them because there are budget limitations.
Right.
But there's other things to consider besides strictly your budget. And some of the questions that we're going to talk about today in regards to, should you build your own website is, aside from budget, is have you ever built one before? Do you have any experience in doing this? If you've done a couple of, say, Squarespace sites or something like that, then, okay, you probably know enough that, you could successfully build a website,
Sure.
a most basic website. We're talking about what we call a brochureware site. So basically an informational site, doesn't have any custom functionality. It's a typical, homepage about us, what our services are, what our product is. No e-commerce, maybe a contact form, just really basic site.
Right.
But
Well,
it's,
now some of these points or these options we're going to show today will give you the ability to do that. But then you're starting to get to the point where you really should start thinking about hiring a professional to help you on that.
And a question I have gotten recently is with social media, and people are like, well, do I even, if I can't afford a website right now, do I even need one if I have a Facebook or a profile or whatever? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Because it's like your digital storefront.
it is.
And if you get referrals, which is a common source of business for a lot of local companies, people are going to Google you. They're going to go look for you online to find things like your hours, your contact information, whatever it may be. So you need that kind of placeholder, even if you're just starting out.
Absolutely. And even if you're just starting out, they're going to go to your website to vet you.
Yeah.
They want to know, are you a legitimate business? What kind of background or history does this organization have? They want to see the people. I mean, as vain as that might sound, they want to see who they're going to be dealing with. So they'll go to the staff page, they'll go to the About Us page, and they'll say, what do these folks look like?
Yeah, I've actually vetted out potential not customers, but places that I would go to see, and find that they have a great Facebook page, and then nothing as far as a website.
Yeah, and
I'm usually like, moving on.
Are you like, are they working out of the trunk of their car?
Right.
What's the deal here?
Yeah.
So it used to be you'd go to a brick and mortar location, but nowadays your website, like you said, Alicia, is your brick and mortar locations where people go to find out about you and do their research and vet you before they ever pick up the phone or email you.
Right.
Okay, so for the sake of argument today, we're talking primarily about just setting up an online billboard, if you would. Just for lack of a better word, or a brochure.
I mean, you can
online
get a
brochure.
little bit more complicated, and we'll get into that when we start looking at the different website building tools that are available. You can get as complex as you want, but again, it gets into the area of, do you understand everything that you're building and how it works and how to optimize it? Because we'll also get into talking about tying your website into social media, and the content is very important. The written content, the images.
Sure.
There's a lot to consider when building your own website. It's not just a matter of throwing some pages together and getting it up live.
Yeah, wish it were that easy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately the way I approach my clients is that your website is one of your most important digital marketing tools.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if you're going to do it, if you're going to build a website, you really need to understand the importance of what you're doing, and the value of what you're building.
Now, would you say to a potential client that is starting from square one, no social media, no website, no nothing, what would you say? Now, I've always told people that I've come across, the website should be the first thing you're going after, even so much more so before social media. And maybe I'm wrong in my thinking. My thinking to that was because you're going to use your social media to point back to your website.
Right.
And if you don't have the website, you're pointing back to where?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend that being one of the first, blocks that you build is the website. Even before that, though, I would say get business cards.
Oh, sure. I was just talking online stuff in
Online
general.
stuff, yeah, I would say website first. But I mean, there are cases where somebody just has a Facebook page and they're marketing themselves through that Facebook page. They don't have a website, and they're fairly successful. So there are exceptions to the rule. Yeah, absolutely. But if I were advising somebody, yes, a website, even if it's a simple one-page website.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've run across, you and I, Justin, in our dealings with people, we've run across clients that have no website. That, we discuss they have no online presence whatsoever. No Facebook, no social media, no.
And if you're a small business, or even if you're a big business, given where we are in 2018, you almost can't go without a website.
Sure.
Because, I was talking with somebody today, it's like, gone are the days of advertising in newspapers. I mean, people still do it,
but
it's quickly becoming a marginal thing.
Or it's going to point you back to online. It's only so big of an ad.
Right.
But
nobody looks anything up in the Yellow Pages anymore. Do they even make Yellow Pages anymore?
I got one the other day, and it was sitting on my front lawn soaking wet. I don't know. I just didn't even put it in a plastic
Yeah,
bag.
you threw it right in the garbage, didn't you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Recycling bin.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
So
if you want people to know about you, they want them to be able to find you, and you want to be able to market yourself effectively, you got to have a website.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it goes without question. So, have you ever built one before? would be the first question I would ask. And
I think most people are going to say no.
right.
I mean, we open our businesses because we're good at what we do. I mean, you might have some people who are more technical, but if you can't figure out like how to use your iPhone voicemail, then you probably shouldn't build a website.
Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. You might have somebody who is very tech savvy, and maybe they're even an IT person, right? Mm-hmm. So they could technically build a site, but there's more to it than just the HTML,
Sure.
right? There's the aspect of the visual element of the site, and there's the user experience of the site.
SEO, the back end.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we talked about a lot of this in the webinar that we
Yeah.
did. It's like there's a lot of things to consider in regards to a website. What kind of experience is somebody going to have when they come to your homepage? So it's more than just the technical aspect of it. So when you say, have you ever built one before? It's like, you may be tech savvy, you may be able to code in HTML, but do you know about all of the other elements that go into making a successful digital marketing site?
Mm-hmm. And you run into it. The other issue is if you don't have that information, the proper information on how to do that, and then you try to find people to do it. I'm dealing with a client right now who has a website that was built by a person that obviously didn't know what they were doing. It was built on a Wix platform, and they built the website and then left it for the company to deal with it. Yeah. The next person came behind and tried to update certain parts of the website for text and things like that.
Yep.
And they left all kinds of typos. So now I've been asked to come on board and take a look at this thing and say, let's get this thing up to speed where it needs to be. And even looking at the back end of this website, you're seeing the footprint of all these different people that had been there before, and all of it's a mess. So I guess the caveat I would say to anybody that's building their own website, do it with the idea in mind that this is a short-term thing. Because if you're looking at it long-term, and you just have somebody fly by night coming together and helping you put it together and then disappear, you're gonna have a lot more headaches than it's worth later on down the line.
And I talked to a lot of clients that are in that situation. They had nephew Joey build them a website, and now they're ready to move up to the next iteration. They want to build a new website, and all of a sudden they find out that they don't own the website that was built.
Oh yeah.
The domain name which gets registered is in the name of whoever built the site, and they don't have access. They don't know who the host is. They don't have access to the host files, so they can't change anything about the site. They can't access the site, and they can't move it or replace it because they're not registered. They don't own the site.
Yeah,
so
and I just, on that note, there are a lot of like small digital marketing companies out there that are like kind of national, and they will market to you as having a very inexpensive website platform. But what they don't tell you is that if you ever end your subscription with them, so it's a low cost for the website, but then you have to pay them every single month, and you don't own that website. So if you stop paying them,
It shuts you down.
website gone.
And then the other problem that you run into is now you've spent how long building up your customer base to go and training them to go to a certain website. So now you've got to reintroduce a new website,
And
domain
all the
name,
links
a new
online.
new domain name, get all your
And whatever
information ported over.
SEO you've built up with that original site, you've lost.
It's
now.
gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all know, well, at least us here know that SEO takes time to build. It's not like you just put up a website and boom, it's done.
We're talking about search engine optimization, meaning the ability for people to find you through a Google search and where you rank in those search results.
Absolutely.
So it takes a while to build that up, build up your reputation with Google and build up your standing. And if you switch domains, oftentimes you can lose all of that hard work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
And then
then
you're
the
going to end up having to fix all your listing sites out there, and you're going to have to get a subscription service for that, which is going to cost you
Yep.
a couple $100 a month. And so in the end, you got away cheaper in the beginning, but it's costing you in the long run.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's the.
Right.
So I guess what we've come to is the first thing, I guess, before we even talk about building a website, is make sure the domain name itself is in your
Owned by
name.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
Make
And
sure
that's not a
you
hard
own-
thing to do.
No. I mean, we grabbed one for the Marketing Essentials team in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
But if you are working with a site builder that keeps it inside of their GoDaddy account or Namecheap account, it could be hard to get your hands on that, even if you paid for it.
Could
so
be,
you want
yeah.
to make sure that it's
Well,
inside of your account.
Here's a little interesting little trick that you can do that most people don't realize. Even if you do a domain, a company that will hold on to it on their own GoDaddy or Google,
Squarespace
for
a
whatever.
good example.
What you can do is use a temporary domain name for whatever that happens to be, and say on your business cards you have a specific domain name, meaning like for instance my business website is wparmentier.com. That is owned by me through Google Domains. I buy that, and I have that redirect to my Squarespace site.
Okay.
So by redirecting, if anything happens where I move away from Squarespace at some point in time, I still have the wparmentier.com domain, and Squarespace has nothing to say about it. Same thing can go when you're talking about these companies that will build for you on a subscription service. Just buy a domain separate of what they're giving you. Make that the important domain that you put on your business cards and all your other stuff. When the day comes that you have to break from them, you will still own the domain, and you've built up the SEO on that domain name as opposed to their service.
Good point.
So, I mean, that's just...
So we've already talked about a few website builders. So maybe we should take a look at that graphic that we've got that ranks the website builders. And this is from 2018. It was a survey of all the different website builders that are available.
Okay, it's up on the screen now. So
yeah, it ranks them by a lot of different categories. What the features they have and their their customer service and a whole bunch of different categories. So
now some of these I've never even heard of, truthfully.
Yeah, I think
like
the
Yola?
ones that I don't know that one. I think I recognize Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, and then I know GoDaddy markets that you can have a website with them.
Right.
Oh, Duda, I think is newer or something. But
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question, Justin. Being the website guru.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know, huh? Always scary when somebody says that to you.
I really recently found out the origin of that word guru, which is interesting. Why are you laughing?
Because she's going, oh, we just went on a tangent rabbit trail.
No, guru simply means a teacher or a guide that brings lightness to the dark.
Is that sort of like Swami?
what language is it from?
I want to say it's Hindi, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, I have no idea. Sorry.
But anyway, that's
So anyway, sorry.
So-
No,
It's not Latin. I don't think
now
it's
my
Latin.
question. I'm going back to the screen here, but
Yeah.
my question is, when you're setting up a website for somebody and they're starting from scratch, they don't have a domain, they don't have a hosting service, the whole 9 yards. Do you take into account what they do and kind of point them towards the best service for that? If they're, say for instance, in my case, if I were a photographer coming to you, is there a certain type of website or web hosting service that you would point me to?
So different industries, different platforms for different industries.
Yes, so
Okay.
that's my question.
yeah. Well, let's separate it out. There's the tools you use to build the website, and then there's hosting, and those are really two different things. Now, a lot of these builders offer hosting. So, for example, my website, justinkerrdesign.com, happens to be a Squarespace site. So I built it through them. They host it. It's all inclusive. However, you can, with some of these builders, host them in other places.
Sure.
And there's a ton of hosting companies out there. I mean, GoDaddy is one of the most well-known. But there's Bluehost and there's One-to-One.
There's HostGator and a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yes, for the question that I had was basically on the builder part itself, not
Okay.
necessarily the hosting. But
So-
if you were talking,
So,
Yes, sir.
for example, let's say it's just a simple brochureware site. Almost any of these tools would be fine for that.
Okay.
But if you wanted to get into, selling things from your site, you wanted it to have an e-commerce component, then some of these would be better suited to you than others, because some of them offer e-commerce and some of them offer different features within e-commerce.
Okay.
And then there are platforms that are strictly e-commerce, like Shopify and Magento. Okay. And those aren't necessarily, they are site builders in a way, but they're
More like WordPress level?
targeted specifically towards e-commerce platforms,
Oh,
and they're
okay.
very robust and complex, and you can do a lot of things with them.
Sure.
I mean, that also brings up a good point. I've actually worked with marketers who, if they're like, oh, you host on this platform, we can't work with you.
Really? Why is that?
Yeah, because when you're doing something like e-commerce online and you're generating sales from Facebook and Instagram, if your website stinks, the marketer doesn't want to be held accountable for your low conversion rates.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So
yeah.
There's also considerations, security considerations too.
SSL
So
and whatnot.
if your site is, if your database, which is tied to your site, contains sensitive information, either patient information or
Credit card data.
credit card data,
It's a big one.
your host, whoever's hosting your site, has to provide you certain security features so that if your site gets hacked,
You're covered.
all that data,
Right.
they're covered. Yeah.
So what's that saying? You should know what you're getting into bed with, or like you should just know these things beforehand because
Right.
Okay, so can we take a step back for 1 second? I have one other question that I just kind of dawned on me as we were talking about
Sure.
this. I noticed that some of these sites here that you have listed, and let me put it up on the screen so people can see it again.
Yeah.
Some of these sites have a free aspect to it. What are your thoughts on the free versions of these websites? Like, I know Wix does a free version, as so does, I believe, Weebly, if I'm not mistaken.
free
Right.
samples, good. Free marketing tools, be careful.
You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
You just get limitations, and it's just like, I don't know. There's some really awesome free marketing tools out there. And then sometimes it's just like we were talking about stock images being free and they're not the best quality, and I don't know. So
Yeah,
what do you
I-
say, Justin? You're the website person.
I-
Sorry,
I-
go.
No, okay, that's okay.
I would say, I agree with you. Free is great, but there are limitations. So, in some aspects, you may be limited as to the features that are available, or you may be limited to being just a personal site and not a business site.
And in some cases, in most cases, you can't take their branding off at all. So,
Right.
So
So
you're
it'll
actually
have like that little thing at the
it'll say
bottom.
like I know Wix's free site used to it. I haven't been there recently. Used to have
It's
powered
there.
by Wix or something like
Right.
that you couldn't take off until you jumped up into their pay tier.
Squarespace, the same thing. You
I
have
think
that
that's
little badge on there.
a little tacky.
Well,
I don't know. Maybe that's me. but
it's the price of free.
Sure.
So,
That's a good. I've never heard it said that way. The price of free. I like that.
So I would say if your business has any goals for growth, you'd be very, very limited by getting into a free site.
Sure.
Unless they allow you to scale easily. And some builders do and some builders don't.
Okay.
So I would say, know what you're getting into. And this goes back to the question of, should you build your own website? Well, there's a lot of research involved. You want to make sure that you're getting the right web builder for your purposes. And you have to be thinking beyond just the next 6 months. You got to be
Yeah.
thinking 2 or 3 years down the road. What's your business strategy?
Is
Right.
it going to transport over to whatever you decide to go to later on down the line?
Exactly.
Is it something that goes easy? Is it something that you're going to have to redo all the work you did in the beginning?
Well, the
Right.
typical
What are you talking about?
lifespan of a website, and this is just based on the advance in technology and how fast it moves. Typical lifespan of a website is about 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like
Now, before
once
it goes
you
away completely, or is this just till it gets
upgraded.
upgraded? Like there's
Yeah.
businesses that've been around longer than 5 years.
Yes. But what I'm saying is that at the 3 to 5 year point, there are new technologies and new features that you may want to take advantage of.
Oh, I get you. Okay.
Which would require you to either upgrade your site or maybe build a whole new site to accommodate those features.
And just trends. I think we look back and websites used to be all about the Flash for a certain period of time.
Oh,
It was like a big
hated
deal.
Flash.
Now I feel like
Most
websites
people
are
do.
kind of gravitating towards that very simple. These are the websites I tend to like, but like that unique, that USP right in front, that getting
the
people
unique service proposition. Yeah.
very
Funny how all these
clear and
podcast topics keep coming back around, don't they?
everything is related.
That's right.
But the trends change. What people are used to changes, and now mobile is huge too. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. And a lot of these builders accommodate that very easily. They provide you templates that are, I can't really think of a better term, kind of idiot proof. They give you some
Me.
boxes to fill in your
Yeah.
content, but they make sure those boxes are responsive so that, whether you're looking at the site on your desktop or your laptop or your phone, that the
Right.
site conforms to those mobile standards.
Oh,
so you don't have to think about it. They just automatically
Without a
do
doubt, it's right now. It's a lot easier to build your own website than it was 5 years ago, where
Oh,
you had to
yeah.
know how to code. You didn't
that.
know.
Exponentially more easy. Yeah.
But
so-
with that comes its whole new set of problems.
I still talk to a lot of people who aren't aware that there's a difference between having a desktop version and a mobile version versus what responsive is. And that it kind of surprises me sometimes, but
Yeah, and this is where I have to be very careful when I talk to people outside my expertise, not to use a lot of tech jargon. So responsive is just basically how your site responds to being on different platforms. So from desktop to laptop to tablet to mobile, and the responsiveness has to do with your content. So what a nice big graphic banner with some content over it, and 3 little boxes underneath with some service features looks great on a desktop or laptop. But what happens when it gets down to a phone?
right.
What happens to that content? And it used to be you had to decide, okay, what content do I want to go away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's like, no, you want all the content there and available. Now you may layer it, you may work it, in different ways so that it's there, but people access it differently, and their experience is different on a phone versus, say, a desktop.
And a great example of that is, or the reason why you want to make sure it's optimized for all of those. I was not too long ago. I was at an event where there's a speaker that came from Google and was telling us about how to optimize websites and video and a bunch of other things. One of the things that stood out for me is Google is now starting to penalize you on your SEO rankings if your website does not conform to the different
Yeah.
types of
Mobile devices.
mobile
yeah.
devices. So if it's strictly built on a desktop only
If it's
platform, you're in
not
trouble.
mobile friendly,
You're in
you
trouble.
get penalized.
Well, you can have a mobile version and a desktop version, but responsive is key.
It's got to be
Yeah.
I've still
responsive.
seen that.
I don't recommend having a separate mobile site at all
Oh, no,
because
absolutely
Sounds like a
not.
nightmare to have to
That's
keep
so-
them
separate
updated.
domain. It's a whole other set of headaches as far as maintaining that site. You take a really big hit on SEO if you have a separate mobile site.
Absolutely.
Plus, you're doubling the work to get it out on both platforms.
Exactly.
It was the quick solution though when mobile first started becoming
Yes.
big.
Sure.
Companies started offering mobile websites, but now it's responsive. And so quick, like I don't know if you do this, but on your desktop, if you take a website and you shrink your browser down, so if you want to pull up a site, maybe I don't even know if you want to.
Actually, I'll show you a cool little trick that I actually happen to have on this website. There's actually a plugin that you can buy, or that you get for free from Google Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll show it to you real quickly here.
And it
Let me-
will show you.
It's a responsive emulator.
Yeah, watch
Oh,
what
nice.
it's an
Okay.
emulator. So what I'm going to do is just come over here. Now, up in the upper right-hand corner of my screen is a little mask icon. If I click on this, it does nothing.
Because this website is maybe not. A good one.
Oh, there it
This
is.
one
Okay.
should be.
Okay, so now you see a little drop box that drops down.
We'll
I
show
can
you that.
emulate anything I want. So say I want to see what it looks like on an iOS, which is an iPhone platform. Click on this, and then I can pick iPhone or iPad. Let's say the iPhone,
Perfect.
and now it just shows you what it looks like on an iPhone 6.
This probably isn't the best site to do it on.
No.
I mean, you could pull up
Yeah.
our marketing website.
Actually, I can pull up
at
mine for that matter. Doesn't matter.
Marketing Essentials team.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Plug yourself,
Here I am
Bill.
plugging myself. Come on.
No problem.
You can't blame a guy for trying, can you?
Marketing Essentials team. Oh, that's us.
Who are these guys?
The marketing is. Oh, that's the webinar site, but it's going to take me there anyway, right?
Yeah.
Hey, there we go. Okay, so this is what it would look like on an iPhone 6.
No.
No?
No. It would not look this way on an iPhone.
Oh, okay,
6.
let's try it again. Let's see where we're at. iPhone 6.
Your emulator might be broken, Bill.
I think your emulator's broken.
My
too.
emulator's broken. Well, anyway.
Squeeze it down. Can you squeeze your screen down or it won't
Yeah,
work?
yeah. Just take your browser and
No, because then you're going to see a weird backdrop. It's going to be all kinds of weird.
Well, if you
It's
take your
supposed
browser,
to emulate. Why is it not?
it's definitely not emulating
I-
because I've looked at our website on
It's-
mobile.
maybe the extension's broken, Bill.
Maybe the extension's broken, Bill. Yeah.
Update your Chrome or your Safari.
Ah, for crying out loud.
But you can just like
Hey,
kind
look, it
of
looks nothing. Nothing's
Just,
changed.
just squeeze the browser.
Yeah, okay.
So that is what you're seeing the content respond to the different size browser window as if it were a tablet.
I'm trying to do this with a trackpad. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Testing my abilities
So-
to do this with a trackpad
So
off of a
that's like a
laptop.
phone. That would be like a phone setup.
Yeah, or a small.
Hey, look at
small
those! Look at those
tablet.
good-looking mugs.
A small tablet. Yeah, there are some of those.
We used to call it the phones that were so big they were almost a tablet. We called them phablets.
The tablets, yeah.
Yeah.
Hell, look at these. Look
But
at these.
these
people.
are all things that you need to take into consideration. And when you're testing the way that your website is used, don't just test it on desktop and be like, yes, everything looks good.
Right.
Test it on a tablet, test it on your phone,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to drop traffic. People are
Okay,
not
okay, we're
going to wait,
Yep.
for things to load or kind of pinch and squeeze or whatever.
Pinch and squeeze. You can't do that on a
So-
laptop. Sorry.
No, you can't. But there's nothing worse than going to a site on your phone and having to do the old pinch and zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no website in 2018 that should do that. You know.
But I still run across them.
I know, I do too. And it's it's so 2005.
And what does that say to me when I see a website like that about a business? It says to me that they just don't like care that much about their users, or maybe they're just
Well,
not
I-
marketing.
I think part of it is they may not even realize it.
Yeah.
Like we said, most
Right.
business owners don't give that
That's
much
true.
thought. They hire somebody, or they have an uncle or a cousin that builds the website for them, and they go, "Oh, it looks good on
But
my
it's
my desktop. I'm
it's
done."
a frustrating experience on a phone having to pinch and zoom to be able to see like, well, what's the phone number or where.
Maybe I just take it personal. Like, oh, they don't care about me. I
Well,
can't use this website.
I think because of what you do,
So
yes, I
innocent.
can understand that response.
All about me.
But you
For
live
your-
on your phone,
but for
right?
your average user, it's just a frustrating experience. And user experience is very important. We've said before, when you show up on a website, your website has 5 to 7 seconds to be able to grab that person's attention, let them know the who, what, and why.
And if they're taking 5 to 7 seconds to do this,
Yeah, they're gone. They're off to something else. I mean, some people will suffer through that, because, they're willing to work for it. But you're really putting up a lot of barriers for
Yeah,
your
sure.
prospective
And why do
clients.
that? But,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
So,
yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you're doing your own, how can you take these? Are these tools gonna help you kind of figure this stuff out, or
Well-
how do you do that?
well, some of them are already responsive enough. Like Squarespace automatically does that, so that
Right.
way, any website you're building on the desktop will transfer over to mobile.
Okay.
I mean, some of these build-it-yourself platforms will provide a lot of the stuff that does it for you, like responsive.
Okay.
And they'll make it very easy for you to set up things like forms or image galleries. They make it as simple as possible. Now, in that regard, it does limit your ability to customize a lot of things. But if you're okay using the templates that they provide and sort of working within the boxes that they provide, you can do this very easily. And they make hosting easy, and they try to make it as simple as possible. Now, where the tool ends and you begin is your content.
Sure.
Because they're not going to create your content for you.
No.
And even though they may have a great sort of user forum or user community that can help you think about things like that, you're on your own. You need to come up with your content. You got to make sure it's compelling. You got to think about how to strategically place that content on your site.
What can content include?
Well, content is, the site builders basically give you the box, right? A really nice box, but you have to fill the box with your written content, any imagery, video, tie-ins to your social networks, all of that. So if you're going to build your own website, it's not just building the site. It's not just, putting up the house. You got to put all the furniture in it. You got to decorate.
And content goes beyond words. I think people think like content marketing and blogs got a big
Yeah.
word, text and stuff, but content is more than just your
Oh, it is.
written stuff. Because if you get to a website and all it is just like written paragraphs of like I've seen it and it's bad.
I was
With
at
a logo at the top.
I was on a local website. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but the first page, you opened up the page, it had a picture that was about this big
Yeah.
and all text.
Yeah.
And not to pick on anybody, but that's when you get that 5 to 7 seconds, how many people are going to take the time and go, oh, let me read through this 8 paragraphs worth of material that's on the front page.
Right.
So, now you're getting into the realm of you've got the site built, that's great. You've figured out, okay, how many pages you want, what the pages are going to be. But now you've got to start thinking about content. So you've moved out of the builder stage, and now you're doing strategy. You're doing content strategy. You're doing design. So now you're wearing those hats.
Yeah.
And it's not just, oh, I've got this content from my old site, or I've got this content that I've written. You don't just dump it on a page. You've got to think about how to strategically place it.
And the other thing that most people don't realize when they're doing something quick and easy, like, because granted, all of these sites are saying it's easy to build a website.
It is.
And it is. It's very easy to build a website. But what I think most people don't realize, it's easy to build it, but it takes a lot to maintain it, to keep going. It's not something you just set and forget. There's very few websites out there that you can just put it together and never have to look at it again.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So
just
what do you mean
doesn't
by
work there.
maintain?
Maintaining it, keeping the content fresh.
Yep.
If it's something that, if you have a picture or a video from 10 years ago on there, that might hold up for a little while, but
Right.
if you have return clients or customers or visitors to your website, and they see that same video over again, they're less likely to come back.
Same testimonials or team. I see
Yeah.
this a lot. Team members on a website. So like people are part of the business and then they move on and they're
That's
no
another
longer
great
on
part.
the staff.
That's another great part of it.
Yeah, and it just doesn't look good.
And if you're thinking of your website, and you should be thinking of it this way, if you're thinking of it as a digital marketing tool, then you need to consider, like you said, keeping that content fresh and making sure that your landing pages, where people are going to likely end up, are compelling and draw them further into the site. That you're building expertise through what you write on the site, whether it's blog posts, or whether it's including testimonials from your customers, or maybe long form white papers that you're providing that people can download.
Here's another huge pet peeve of mine, and I'll go to a website with somebody that I frequent that has does events of some sort. They might have, like, Easter was not too long ago, so
Right.
they might have an Easter egg hunt, and they put that up on the page. And all of a sudden you go there in June and back
Easter
to the
egg
website,
hunt's still there.
and the Easter egg hunt photo is still
Yeah.
there. It's like, do you care enough about your, to me, in my mind is, do you even care enough about your customers to change that? Obviously you're not giving a lot of attention to it, and you're also telling anybody that visits after the fact that you don't.
Right. And if you're a website DIYer, these are things you have to take into consideration. You built it, you own it, you change it.
Exactly.
But if you have a website designer or a team, that's where things can
Right.
take it off your plate.
Right, exactly. So you have to, ask yourself, am I willing to commit the resources necessary to do this? And it's, there's a learning curve involved. There's a time commitment. You have to create your content. You have to place it into the site. You have to maintain your content on the site. Make sure it stays fresh. Then you've got to think about tying it into any kind of social network like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. So there's just a lot of moving parts there other than simply building the framework of the site.
Okay, so in summation, because we're getting pretty close to the end of the podcast at this point, I see 3 takeaways from this that we need to think about. One, building your own website should only be a temporary solution.
Right. A stopgap.
Yep. 2, you need to understand that the content is king, so to speak, that
Yes.
it needs to be updated frequently and
Yes.
properly.
Okay.
And 3, it's not always going to save you money in the long run, because you're going to possibly have to go back and redo a lot of things when you finally do get to the point of upgrading to having somebody else build a website for you.
And speaking
Wanna
of
do the fourth one?
well, you brought up a good point, save you money. Think about all the time you spent
Yeah,
getting
see-
this done when you're not running your business.
Well, and that's the problem, because if you're a cash flow poor company, you may have no choice but to do it, and that's
Yeah.
fine. You got to do what you got to do.
True. I guess
But
it comes down to
ultimate-
time and money.
But ultimately, you need to realize that if you don't have the money now, it's going to take you more money to make the switch over later.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've helped clients get into those entry-level sites like Squarespace and Wix. And, the role I've played is, building that for them using the tool and then helping them think strategically about their content. And it's a lower entry level than, something that's more sophisticated, like a custom WordPress site or even a custom coded site. But still, there is it's enough of an involvement that you really should have a marketing budget set aside
Sure.
that includes, money for building a website and money for putting together a social network, social marketing strategy, and I'll even say, think about your content. It's like, images and video are key to marketing online. We've seen it in websites, we've seen it in social media. So, are you going to be using stock? Are you going to be using stuff you shot with your iPhone? Or have you set aside some money to hire a photographer to give you custom imagery to put on your site and on your social media channels?
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
Did we cover?
I think we beat that one to the ground.
Yeah. I mean, I think the end result is, like you said, it's a fine for an entry level.
Yeah.
But at some point, if you're serious about growing your business and using your website as a digital marketing tool, you need to hire a professional or
Sure.
a team of professionals.
I wonder where you could find somebody like that.
I don't know.
Could it be the marketing essentials team guys? Something?
Yeah, I think
Maybe.
we saw that website before.
Yeah, I think we're on that website after that W. Parmentier photography thing. I don't know. Shameless plug yet again. No, I'm kidding.
But, speaking of shameless plug, we should probably talk about who our podcast sponsor is for today.
well, it's not really.
They don't know they
spon-
are,
They don't
but-
know
They
they're
don't know
sponsor.
they are,
We've
but they
made
are.
them the unofficial sponsor.
That's right.
Okay, we just say the unofficial sponsor of the Marketing Essentials podcast.
Today's
is,
podcast.
Of today's podcast.
Right. So it's Yacht Club Soda. And the reason that we have Yacht Club Soda here, if you haven't been following the podcast, Alicia here is a transplant from Connecticut, and we have been trying to sort of indoctrinate her into Rhode Island and a lot of Rhode Island traditions. So we have, what have you experienced so far?
Oh, well. So let's see. We have coffee milk.
Autocrat coffee
Autocrat.
milk. That's important.
Yes, you can't just say
Because
coffee.
there are
milk.
some posers out there.
Yes.
And wieners.
Yeah.
Right.
From
New York
Ohm-
system.
New York System
Yes.
Wieners. Rocky Point clam cakes.
Yep. And I think that's... And then you guys. Bill and Justin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we're part of your Rhode Island experience.
well, yeah, I guess
introducing me to all this awesome stuff.
you've been around long enough, Justin. I guess we can call you a Rhode Islander.
I
it
appreciate
changes.
that. I'm not a native. Bill's a native. I've only been here since
I'm representing
86.
for Rhode Island. Remember
So-
that.
But today we're going to sample some of Yacht Club's finer sodas. We've got root beer and golden ginger ale and their cola.
Nice.
So we're going to do a taste test.
I think you want this, right?
Yeah.
Without me hitting Alicia.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
Well, I think we're going to.
That's not. We're going to pause for a second. We'll come right back once we get our glasses filled. So, and we're back. We're going to make Alicia try to figure out how to drink the soda with the mic in her way. I think we're all going to have to figure that one out.
Hit the mic.
Okay, so which one? That's okay. You just blew somebody's eardrums out who's wearing earbuds. So
Can you hear the bubbles? Can you hear that fizz?
no,
Oh.
be quiet.
Well, it's
maybe if
well
we're very
carbonated
quiet.
and looking delicious.
And Justin wore some of it, so we know that's a
So
fact.
cheers to the Marketing Essentials team.
Which one are we doing first? This cola?
This is, no, Bill, the root beer.
I think I have root beer.
You're confusing me. I'm
You
so
guys- whatever one you-
so confused.
So first up, we have the Yacht Club root
Root
beer.
beer.
Can you guys explain Yacht Club to me? I think I've seen it around.
Yacht Club's actually a Rhode Island-based soda company, based out, I believe, out of Newport, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
delicious.
That's the Yacht Club
I love
name.
root beer.
Justin, take a look. See,
I don't
I
think
think
their bottling plant is in Newport.
No, but I think it was based out of Newport
They're,
originally.
Okay, I like that. That root beer
Yeah,
was
because
delicious.
it is because they. Well, actually, wait. They,
Yes, no, maybe so.
Oh, you know what's interesting is they have different landmarks on their different bottles. So, like this is Cliff Walk.
And Newport, the Cliff Walk, yep.
Yeah, but I was looking for
Collector's
the bottling location.
You're the guy with the glasses on, so you tell me.
That is really good. The root beer was delicious.
Okay, let's go on to the next one here so we
What
don't
is
end up with
it?
a 20-minute combination.
Alicia, you've got young eyes. What does this say here?
Whoa, that is hard to read. They're actually out of Centerdale, Rhode Island.
Centerdale.
Centerdale, there you go, sure.
Yeah.
I knew that.
I thought I'd driven by their place before.
Okay, so we're doing
What
the
do we think of the root beer?
The root beer I thought was
liked
pretty
it.
good.
That was
Yeah,
I'm partial to A&W root beer, but I thought it was
A&W's
good.
nice. I like
Mug?
IBC.
Oh, IBC is good.
IBC because it's got a little bit of an edge to it.
You smell this like wine?
Okay, so
This was not.
the next one is the
Does
golden
it have
ginger
good
ale.
legs?
This is what?
We're not spitting this out or anything, right?
This is
Don't,
purpose?
if you do, go that way.
no. So this is golden ginger ale. I'm not sure what the difference between golden and regular ginger ale is, but
It could be it's aged a little bit. Because
like us,
well,
golden.
no.
Golden years.
When I was in the Midwest, they had a ginger ale called Verner's.
I've had Verner's. It's pretty
Verner's
good.
is ginger ale, but it's aged in oak barrels, so it's got a little bit of an edge to it.
I've had Verner's. I like that. I like Verner's.
I can taste the difference between this and like the ginger ale, like the big brand ginger ale.
This one's got almost like a mellow taste to it to me.
Yeah,
I like
that's
this.
what I feel
I do
like.
too, yeah.
I like it too.
I like this. Yeah.
Okay,
Good
and
job,
finally,
Yacht Club.
the cola, which Alicia called Coca-Cola earlier, but we won't tell anybody.
The classic.
The classic cola.
Here we
It
go.
is.
That's
I
pretty.
don't like soda, like Coke in general.
Yeah,
What
I
do
don't
you
like.
guys-
I'm gonna say I don't care for that one.
This one's a little. Yeah, it's a little flat.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know
I
if
don't
I'd
mean
call it-
like fizzy flat.
No,
Maybe
no, no.
it's because Justin shook the bottle.
Yeah, maybe.
So we're gonna give Yacht Club a pass on that one.
Because Justin shook
could
it up.
be user error.
Yeah. All right. So, what we didn't say at the end of the last podcast, but if you want to know a little bit more about what we're doing, you want to
Find out more about us.
for more about us, listen to previous podcasts. You can subscribe to the iTunes podcast, all on our website at themarketingessentialsteam.com. You can also join us on Facebook at the Marketing Essentials Team. Mm-hmm. Did I miss anything as far as?
You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes.
Yes. That's,
And you can. Excuse me there. A little carbonation.
that's what happens when we give him soda.
Yeah. Things get bad. You can also check out our webinar
Yes.
on marketingessentialsteam.com.
Yes.
All right. Did I cover everything?
I think we covered everything.
Oh my goodness.
So, on that note, before Justin blows up, we're going to say goodbye for now, and we'll see you next time on the Marketing Essentials podcast.
Bye.
See you guys.